What's going on, YouTube? My name is Matt Modi. I am a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam.com. And in this video, I am just going to teach you how to bet on tennis. Pretty simple, how to bet on tennis. So I am recording this during one of the 4 major tournaments, the Australian Open. So I got a ton of tennis matches to show you exactly how to bet on tennis. What I will say is that during the months of football, basketball, hockey, you probably don't think a lot about tennis. But I can assure you, when the NBA season comes to an end, when the NHL season comes to an end, and you are itching to find some sports to bet on, you're going to want to hop into tennis. There are, I think, 3 major tournaments that go on over the summer. There are obviously 4 Grand Slams is actually what they're called. I should call it their Grand Slams. The French Open, the Australian Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. I believe 3 of them go on over the summer. So perfect time for you to dive into some tennis action when the NBA season comes to an end. So make sure to watch this video so you will have prepared yourself for some tennis betting. So right off the bat, for those of you that aren't familiar with how tennis works, there are 3 main markets that are actually similar to like an NFL or an NBA. Main market, money line, spread, and total. But obviously in an individual sport, it's viewed very, very differently. So I'm going to start off explaining the 3 main markets in tennis. Number 1 is money line, which is pretty easy. We'll get right into that one. Number 2 is the game spread. And number 3 is the game totals market. So let's start with the money line. It's the easiest bet to make in all of sports. You're literally just betting on who you think is going to win the match. So I have up an example of a tennis match featuring the GOAT Novak Djokovic and his money line odds. You see this is pulled from FanDuel Sportsbook. You see it's labeled money line, and the minus dictates the favorite. So in this case, Djokovic is the favorite here. The plus dictates the underdog. So Roberto Carballes Baena is the underdog. And when it comes to the money line, like I said, the minus is the favorite. The bigger the number for the money line number, in this case, all the way up at 8,000, equals the bigger the favorite. So in this case, if you wanted to profit $100 betting on Novak Djokovic, you would have to risk $8,000. So that is what the minus means. The minus means the amount of money you have to risk in order to profit $100. So normally, like in a basketball or NBA game, or excuse me, NFL or NBA game, where the games are a little bit closer, you'll see odds between like minus 100 and minus 200. That's kind of a normal money line. For this game, for this match, it's an individual sport, one-on-one, heavily favoring Djokovic. On the other side, the underdog side, the plus, as I mentioned, dictates the underdog. The bigger the number, the bigger the underdog. Kind of similar there. The difference in terms of how to read what these numbers mean is that the plus and the number next to it, in this case 3,000, dictates how much you would profit if you would risk $100. So if I thought that there was a chance that Djokovic was going to be upset and I bet $100 on Baena to win straight up, I would profit $3,000. So right off the bat, you kind of learn that it can be very, very profitable if you can successfully identify underdogs that you think are going to win straight up. Underdogs that are likely to win straight up, it's pretty simple. You don't need to win as many of your bets in order to be a profitable sports bettor. So that is definitely a tennis betting strategy. Find profitable underdogs to bet on. So that's how the money line spread, or excuse me, the money line bet works. You're literally just betting on who you think is going to win straight up. The next of the main markets that I hinted at is the game spread. So as you can see on the screenshot here, the game spread listed on FanDuel Sportsbook is Novak Djokovic minus 10.5. So similar to the money line, the minus dictates the favorite, the plus dictates the underdog, and then the number next to the plus and minus dictates how many games that player, the favorite, would need to win by. So in this case, Novak Djokovic would need to win by 11 or more games in order to win this game spread bet. And then for the other player, for the underdog, he could either lose by 10 games or fewer, or he could win straight up and you would win your game spread bet. In terms of the odds, as you see on the far right, The payout structure is the same as a moneyline bet. So Djokovic minus 10.5 game spread being priced at minus 136 means you would have to risk $136 to profit 100. On the underdog side of it, the underdog is listed at plus 100, which is just even money. So whatever amount you risk is the amount you profit. So if you risk $100, you profit $100 at plus 100. So in terms of strategy, the game spread bet is a really easy way to back the favorite at a much, much more reasonable number. So if you really, really like Djokovic in this match, probably aren't going to want to risk 8,000 or minus 8,000 odds for the money line. If you think he's going to win by 11 games or more, then just bet his spread and get significantly, significantly better odds. Conversely, if you do like the underdog, but you're not 100% sure that they're going to win straight up, but you do think that they're going to keep it close, then just bet the underdog spread. You're risking worse odds, but you're winning, you're getting a higher win percentage. So it's just a typical risk reward sentiment when it comes to the game spread. But all in all, the game spread, it's similar to a spread bet in a sport, but instead of the actual point total, it's just how many games the player wins by. Next up, we have the game total. So not talking about who's winning straight up, not talking about how many games they're winning or losing by, just how many games are played in general. So again, I have the screenshot up here from FanDuel. The game spread list, or excuse me, the game total listed in this match is at about 25.5. So if 26 or more games are played, then the over would hit. If 25 or fewer games are played, then the under would hit. Odds, the payout structure is the same exact as it is on the other scenario. The minus is the favorite outcome. So in this case, FanDuel is favoring over 25.5 games being played. You'd have at minus 132 odds, you would have to risk $132 to profit 100. The under is the non-favored outcome in this one at plus 100 odds, meaning that you would risk $100 to profit $100. In terms of a game spread strategy, if you're not exactly sure, anything about the match straight up, you're not sure who's going to win, you're not sure who's going to cover the spread, but you do think that either a lot or not a lot of games are going to be played, you could just wager on the total. It's similar to like an NFL game. You don't know who's going to win straight up, but you think a ton of points are going to be scored. You're going to bet the over. The opposite, if again, you're not sure who's going to win straight up, but you're trusting both defenses, you're going to bet the under the point total. Tennis is the same thing. You're not sure who's going to win or cover or anything like that, but you do think that a lot or not a lot of games are going to be played total, then you would just bet on the total of it. But those are the three main markets: the money line, the game spread, and the game total. Now, that's not the only type of markets you can bet on. There are alternate markets as well that I'm going to get into and share my screen because I figured that would be an easier way to show you all the different alternate markets you can bet on. All right, so we're looking at the same match, Djokovic versus Carballes Baena. Hopefully I'm not butchering that guy's last name still. And I just have pulled up every type of market you can imagine to bet on for this game. So right off the bat, I mentioned the main markets being the game spread and the total games. You can also bet the alternate market. So I know that like the game spread was 10.5, the total was 25.5. Well, if you want to bet an alternate game or total market, you can. It's very easy. You just need to go to alternatives. And as you can see here, there are a bunch of different options for alternate game spreads. So if you think Djokovic is going to just totally blow this guy out, you can bet on him to go minus 14.5 on the game spread at plus 900 odds. Now, obviously, again, it's a risk reward type thing where it's a little more risky, but the reward is significantly higher. Same but opposite is true for the underdog. You're still not quite sure that you're confident enough he's going to win straight up, but you do think he's going to keep it close. So why not get, instead of plus 10.5 to plus 2.5, get that at plus 290 odds while still betting on him to cover some sort of spread, but at a much better odds at plus 290. Same thing with total games. As you can see, there are options 26.5, 29.5, 24.5. Those are just alternate total games markets. So again, you think it's going to go significantly over. Instead of betting over 25.5, bet over 28.5 at plus 162. Those are alternate markets, are very, very popular betting markets. And then we see things like to win the first set. So in Grand Slam tournaments for men, it's first to win 3 sets wins the match. For women, it's first to win 2 sets wins the match. If you think Djokovic is going to get out to a hot start, but you don't want to accept minus 8,000 odds, you could get better pricing. I mean, granted, minus 1,800 still isn't great, but for a closer match, instead of betting on their money line, you could bet on them to win the first set and get significantly better odds. Again, it's the same thing, but opposite for the underdog. You don't think they're going to win straight up, but the data tells you that they're a fast starting player. Instead of betting them to win the match straight up, just bet on them to win the first set. You can also bet the second set. And then another popular form of alternate markets is set betting. So you can bet on the specific outcome. Will Djokovic just win straight up 3-0, 3-1, 3-2? And if you really like the underdog, you can bet on him to win straight up 3-1, 3-2 as well. Other types of set markets include, you could do a game spread on the first set. Much better odds here, minus 140 to minus 115 on both sides. You can bet on the over-under of total games in the first set. You can bet on the correct score. You can bet on almost anything. You can also bet on how many sets are going to be played. So if you think that Djokovic isn't going to win straight up 3 sets to 0, then you could just bet on the total sets over 3.5. Now, there are a ton of different options when it comes to betting on tennis, and I'm not going to go over every single one because you kind of just need to play around with it, and there are a ton of different options, some more popular than others. In terms of alternate markets, alternate spreads and totals are popular. Player to win the first set is another very popular one as well. And then the set markets do get some action as well. But overall, when it comes to betting on tennis, there are a ton of different options for you to choose from. 3 main lines, just like any other sport. Alternate markets, just like any other sport as well. In terms of tennis betting strategy, I highly recommend checking out OddsJam. OddsJam provides positive expected value tennis betting opportunities where you're literally gaining an edge over the sportsbook. I myself have had a ton of success using OddsJam to bet on tennis, so I cannot recommend it enough. Incredibly profitable betting on tennis. You can also use OddsJam to pull up odds from every major tennis match for completely free. So regardless, if you're looking to make money betting on tennis, highly recommend checking out OddsJam. But for this video, how to bet on tennis, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out, comment on the video with any questions. But that's it. So again, I appreciate everybody watching and have a good one.